Hey everybody, I just wanted to make a quick video to go over marqueeing and using the rectangle tool to draw a square. I just finished up grading the grid assignment, and a few folks I think struggled with that part of the direction, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So I've got this word here, okay? I'm going to do Control Z to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to use my hand tool so I can kind of move it so it's like nice in the center for me, okay? So using the selection tool, I'm going to go ahead and select the word, and we know it's selected because we've got our anchor points. This blue box shows up. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to come up to type, and we're going to do create outlines. Okay, so what that does is each letter form now is outlined, and the parts of the letter form. So in the case of a lowercase I, we've got the stem, and then we've got the dot. Okay. Next, we're going to go up here to Object, and we're going to ungroup. Okay, so that essentially takes the parts of the letters, they were grouped as a word, right? Now that it's ungrouped, each letter form can now be played with and manipulated separately. Okay. Now, and this is where people might have gotten a little confused. If we stay using our selection tool and we click on the I, what happens? Both pieces become selected, okay? The stem and the dot. The directions were saying that you had to remove just the dot. So with both selected, if we do delete, okay, the whole word disappears. Okay, we didn't want that to happen. If we come over here with our direct selection tool, right, notice what happened, right? Selection, they are ungrouped, they are outlined, but direct selection shows us a lot of different anchor points. We now know that letter forms are really complex, right? And you guys did an awesome job in your discussion boards commenting about how complex letter forms are and how important letter forms are and typography is to visual communication and design. So look how complex these are, all the different anchor points, right? You can start manipulating these now and stretching them, you know, playing around with them, etc. So if we do select the I, okay, and we delete, okay, we got the whole word disappearing here. So I'm not selecting the rest of the letters. Okay, I'm just selecting the I, and I do delete. The whole I disappears. Okay, so we can see how the whole word could disappear, all the letter forms, the I could disappear. None of that was supposed to happen for these directions, right? And that wasn't what your goal was. I do Control Z. Remember, that's a great shortcut because it'll undo your last step. Okay, so what am I doing? I am marqueeing, okay, that magical word, over just the dot of the I. So all I'm doing is holding down my mouse. I'm clicking on my mouse and I'm drawing that little box appearing over the I, the dot of the I, excuse me. And now you can see that that's what's selected, right? And now I'm going to delete. Now just the I, the dot above the I has disappeared, okay? Control Z to back up. So again, you can't just be in selection. We wanted to be in the direct selection tool, okay? So direct selection, if you select both pieces, they're both going to disappear, okay? You have to marquee or hover over with your mouse, basically, just the dot and delete that. What was the next step that maybe was a bit of a stumbling point for some folks? It was to draw a square. So you might have come over here, okay, and said, oh, there is no square. That's true. You use the rectangle tool, okay? So you select the rectangle tool. I'm going to Control minus sign to zoom out a little bit. I've got my rectangle tool selected, okay, got it. I'm holding the Shift key down and I'm drawing a square. Okay, if I don't hold the Shift key down, I can't really get a perfect square. I mean, you know, you kind of play it. There it is, right? 0.43 by 0.43. We now know we have a square. You can see those little dimensions. But if you hold the Shift key down, okay, it'll ensure that, you know, you don't have to look at your dimensions. It'll just let you draw a square. So I've got a bunch of squares here, and I believe the directions were to make it red. Okay, so it's red. I'm going to shrink it up a little bit. Oh, forgot to hold the Shift key down, so it didn't retain its dimensions. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's a good little size, I guess. Okay, and now, whoop, Control Z, selection tool. Come here, buddy. And we're going to drop it where that dot was. Okay. So, I'm at 4.5 minutes. I'm trying to keep these little tutorial videos short and sweet. So basically that was how to take letter forms, right, in a word, break them into, create outlines of them, break them down into their base parts, ungroup them. And then if you have a piece like the letter I, the letter J, okay, that has an extra piece and you ever wanted to play around with it, which is sort of what we were trying to do with this assignment, right? Because this red square now, our eye is drawn to it, right? So it's taking letter forms, it is, you know, playing around with them in such a way that you're guiding your viewer, your audience, right? You are creating something called hierarchy, which we'll talk about in the weeks ahead. But at any rate, hopefully that was helpful. If these videos are helpful, please let me know. I can continue to make these, okay? It's not a problem. So this week you're working on making a type specimen. Please look at the samples that I've posted, and for that you really you can certainly maybe play around with creating outlines if you'd like, but it doesn't really need to be that complicated or fancy. You're really just playing with font size, and then either bold, italic, and Roman, which is regular font, and I said, yeah, different sizes. Okay, so that's the assignment for this week, the type specimen. Please let me know if you have more questions, and let me know if you find these videos helpful.